Today, we are cracking open one of the oldest and honestly one of the most influential cold cases in all of history, Sophocles' Oedipus the King. Now, I want you to forget everything you think you know from psychology class, because at its heart, this play is a thriller. It's basically the blueprint for every single detective story that ever came after it.
But it all starts with a question that is, well, it's basically a philosophical time bomb. It asks something that has just echoed down through the centuries. What happens when the one thing that makes you a hero, your brilliant, relentless, logical mind, becomes the very weapon of your own destruction?
So, let's set the scene. The curtain rises on the city of Thebes, and this kingdom is on its knees, absolutely gripped by a mysterious plague. We're in 5th century Athens here, the absolute height of its intellectual power, a city that prizes logic and reason above all else. And the desperate people of Thebes, they look to their king, Oedipus. Now, he's not just any ruler. Oh no, he is the genius who saved them once before by outsmarting the Sphinx. To them, he's a hero, the very embodiment of human intellect.
Okay, so here is the initial case file. The problem? A deadly plague is just wiping out the city. The divine command, which comes from the oracle at Delphi, is this: find and punish the murderer of the former king, Laius. And the lead investigator, Oedipus himself, makes this incredibly public and powerful vow. I will start afresh and once again make dark things clear. He is staking his entire reputation on solving this case with pure logic and reason.
Now, every good detective needs a lead. And Oedipus, he's looking for a shortcut to the truth. So he summons the one man in all of Thebes who is believed to know everything, the blind prophet Tiresias. And this is where the real conflict truly begins.
What we're seeing here is this fundamental clash of worldviews. On one side, you've got Oedipus, the rational investigator who only trusts tangible evidence, logic, interrogation. For him, truth is like a puzzle just waiting to be solved. And on the other side, you have Tiresias, who holds a divine, intuitive kind of truth. He basically argues that some truths are so devastating they're better left buried. It's a battle between the man whose eyes can see but is completely blind to himself, and the man who is physically blind but sees everything.
So Oedipus pushes him, right? He demands answers for his suffering city. And Tiresias, pushed to his absolute limit, drops the single most stunning accusation you can possibly imagine. He looks right at the chief investigator and says, You are the killer you're looking for.
And he doesn't stop there, not even close. He delivers this chilling prophecy, pointing out the central tragic irony of the whole play. Oedipus has his physical sight, but he cannot see the horror of his own life. The prophet warns him that the very day he discovers his origins, his birthday, will also be the day of his utter ruin. So how does Oedipus react to this? Well, he's furious. He completely dismisses the prophet's words as nothing more than a political conspiracy, a treasonous plot. He totally abandons the idea of prophecy and turns back to the one thing he trusts, human testimony. He decides he's going to interrogate his own wife, Queen Jocasta. And this is where the tragic irony just deepens and deepens. Jocasta, trying to comfort her husband, trying to dismiss all prophecy as total nonsense, tells him not to worry. She shares the story of how King Laius was killed years ago at a place where 3 roads meet. That one little detail meant to be comforting instead unlocks a truly dreadful memory for Oedipus. From that single clue, the entire case just unravels with terrifying speed. First, the crossroad story perfectly matches Oedipus's own memory of killing a man in a fit of rage on the road. Then, a messenger arrives, revealing Oedipus was adopted. And finally, they track down an old shepherd who confesses the final, absolutely devastating piece of the puzzle. He was ordered to abandon an infant from the house of Laius, but instead, he gave that baby to a Corinthian. The chain of evidence is complete, it's airtight. And in this one moment, Oedipus finally understands. The prophecy he ran from his entire life has been fulfilled, not in spite of his actions, but because of them. He, the great solver of riddles, has just solved the final, terrible riddle of himself. The truth he chased so relentlessly has now utterly destroyed him. Now, the story itself is an absolute masterpiece of suspense, but its true power, its lasting impact, really lies in its legacy. I mean, why does this ancient detective story still hold such a powerful grip on our imagination after all this time?
Well, for 2,500 years, Oedipus the King has been a cultural touchstone. 100 years after it was written, Aristotle called it the perfect tragedy. Why? Because of its masterful use of what he called peripeteia, which is a sudden reversal of fortune, and anagnorisis, that shocking moment of recognition. Fast forward to 1899, and Sigmund Freud uses the myth to name his famous Oedipus complex. And in the 20th century, existentialist thinkers saw Oedipus as the ultimate symbol of the human struggle between a determined fate and our own free will.
What's so amazing is that the play doesn't give you any easy answers. Instead, it forces us to grapple with these foundational questions that philosophers are still debating. It dramatizes that tension between fate and free will. It asks us to really weigh the true cost of knowledge. And it makes you wonder, what really defines our identity? Is it our choices, or a past we never even knew we had?
You know, the oracles of ancient Greece might seem pretty distant to us now, but the core dilemma of the play is actually more relevant than ever, especially in our age of data and prediction.
So let's run a little thought experiment. Imagine a modern oracle, let's say an advanced AI, that predicts with absolute certainty that you personally will cause some future catastrophe. Now, you haven't done anything wrong yet. Does society have the right to intervene, to stop you based only on that prediction? This is the Oedipus paradox, just rebooted for the age of big data and predictive algorithms.
In the end, Oedipus's investigation into a king's murder became a terrifying journey into his own identity. And maybe that's the play's timeless lesson for all of us, that every search for some external truth is probably doomed to circle back, forcing us to confront the one mystery we can never, ever truly escape: ourselves.
This is for entertainment and educational purposes only.